Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. Today's guest is Jason Andrews, VP of Strategy and Planning at Cisco, one of the world's leading technology and networking company. In his role, Jason sits at the intersection of long range vision and operational execution, helping shape how one of tech's most storied enterprise positions itself for future with a career built on translating complex business challenges into clear strategic direction. Jason brings a rare combination of big picture thinking and ground level pragmatism. I'm excited to have him here today to share his perspectives on leadership, strategy, what it takes to navigate change at a large scale. Welcome, Jason, to the podcast.
Thanks, Varun.
Hope you're doing well and hope my brief introduction justifies what you do, but I would still like you to give a little bit more on your introduction, who you are, what you do.
Yeah, so Jason Andrews, obviously, as Varun introduced, I'm a vice president of engineering operations for primarily for Cisco networking. So that's Cisco's largest business unit. It's over 40 billion in annual revenue. It's an organization of about 22 to 23,000 people we work in. So a lot of my job is to keep the engineers engineering. That includes having program management functions, like some of the stuff that Varun does, kind of help guide these programs and projects through their execution of the overall strategy. Taking a look in some areas at things like CI/CD pipelines, enterprise tooling. I have Global Lab Services, which is a service organization for engineering. It's a very large organization. It's about 1 million square feet of data center space, about 35,000 racks on average, about 2.4 million devices spread across 300 locations. So it's a big piece. Again, ours is the service organization that runs that piece. But in general, right, my day-to-day is kind of, like Varun said, bridging the gap between strategy and execution. Again, I don't typically define the strategies for the organization. We have product leaders who do that are amazing at it. My goal is to take that strategy and actually drive it to closure.
Perfect. That kind of takes me to the first and the most important question of this podcast. Anything that everybody who's looking into this career wants to know. There has to be one moment in your life, in your career, that changed the trajectory of your professional life. Do you know what that moment was, and how did it impact or teach you?
I think the clearest turning point was the birth of my daughter, right? It really, work stopped really being about me. It started being about kind of the family and how I progressed. It brought focus to, I was enjoying work. It was fun, right? But was it a career? What was I going to do there? Sure, right? I think it really kind of made me more intentional about where I spend my time and energy. Meaning previously it was, let's go have fun with let's go play some disc golf, or let's go play rugby, or let's go do something with my friends. And then it became about, okay, how do I advance myself professionally, personally? It's a real maturing state for me. Around the same time I started my MBA at UTA. Again, that was another great experience. It was kind of silly on my part, right? Thinking, let's have a new baby, let's start an MBA, have a job, let's do all this at once. So that was an interesting couple of years for sure. I studied leadership, technology, process design, and it really helped me change how I approach problems. So I often recommend folks is like, get your undergraduate degree, go out, do 8 to 10 years in the workforce, then go back and get an MBA. Because what it does is it takes all those lessons in the first 10 years of your career and then transition to the next 20, 25, 30 years. It was really key in understanding this is why they're asking us to do this with our supply chain. This is why our marketing teams are doing this. This is why our finance teams are asking these questions. And so getting that additional context that I probably didn't have in undergraduate, I was probably too busy having fun, to be honest, gave me a different perspective. Yeah.
Got it. Yep, that's a good advice as well. But now, looking back, if I was interviewing you, like say 25 years, earlier, what would be that advice that you'll give to some of the younger leaders, and anything that you would say, they should ignore, they should avoid?
Yeah, I think if I'm talking to my 25-year-old self, it goes back to focus more, right? Maybe spend a little less time having fun, more time working, totally okay. But I think really, to be honest, a lot of it's luck and timing, right? That plays a big role in anybody's career path and having the right leadership or boss or anything like that. I think use every, if I had to, but I did talking to a 25-year-old Jason, anybody else, and I think I understood this, but I probably didn't at that age. It's use everything as a learning opportunity. Good jobs, good leaders, bad leaders, personal and professional moments. Those are actually critical life lessons that I think people kind of skip over. I've done a lot of jobs in my career. I've been a janitor at a grocery store. That taught me humility. I was a waiter. A waiter taught me how to interact with people, read people. Right? When I worked in financial services, it taught me I love technology more than I like financial services. All these things were micro lessons, and sometimes they're personal or professional. But I think really spending time to take something from each of those experiences to help you grow is really critical. Because at the end of the day, as a VP or as any kind of business leader, you're gonna have to interact with a large group of people, right? And to do that, you kind of gotta take those experiences to interact with the difficult personalities, the easy personalities, just literally everyone. So I think it's everything is a lesson. I don't care if this is a lesson, right? And so by going through these lessons, it's really foundation of how I built for myself, and I think it's how you build others.
A legacy as well. And you mentioned about that title VP, right? When people listen to that title VP, they assume it's like a direct success line. I'm sure it's not. But what was one setback or failure that really helped you overcome that or make you what you are right now?
I didn't have any setbacks. I'm joking. I had a setback, right? I think it's
Wow. So you did have a straight line, huh?
It's perfect. It's perfection at scale, right? No, I think if you go back a few years ago, I won't kind of really go into the company or leaders and things like that, obviously, but I chased a title and a paycheck. That's a bad idea. I didn't do my research. A company called, sounded like a good opportunity. I ignored all the warning signs. I didn't ask friends that had previously worked for that company. I got in there and I believe it was day 2. I determined this is not where I want to be. Day 1 wasn't all that great to be clear, but day 2 was worse. And I go, oh my gosh, what did I do? Right? I think it was a real lesson for me is listen to yourself, your network, the people around you, and really understand that don't chase paychecks and titles, right? That's not going to make you happy. It's not going to get you where you are. Now, on the positive note, that turned into a lesson, and I ended up leading me to another opportunity. I used my network, leveraged that. I found another role that really did fit mine, and that was also a major turning point in my career as I kind of progressed. It gave me a different perspective on leadership and how I function with others. So I don't regret it, but I would definitely call it a setback or a mistake.
Got it. And like they say, your network is your network. Definitely you should leverage your network as well. All right, getting into the more of the strategic side of yourself, the career that you've chosen, it does sound very exciting. Strategy, VP strategy. Of course, I would love that title someday. But execution is where more organizations struggle. What has been the biggest gap for you that you see and between the great ideas and the great execution?
I mean, generally, it's that they don't really have a real strategy. A lot of times you'll hear us speak, what is your strategy for getting this launch? We're going to work hard. Working hard is not a strategy. Let's be clear. I will say that time and time again. Working hard is not a strategy. I think you go through and you go, oh, our strategy is to grow market share. Cool. How are you planning to do that? You want to improve customer experience. How are you planning to do that? You want to increase revenue. These are all goals, not strategy. When you talk about strategy and goals, you want to go back and look at something like that. Let's look at the Blockbuster versus Netflix, right? I used to work at GameStop a long time ago. A lot of ex-Blockbuster people would come in and go, yeah, we just completely threw our head in the sand. Leadership said, the internet's never going to get there. People are always going to want physical discs. So they did not invest until way too late in the infrastructure, the capabilities to actually do streaming media. Now, that was obviously we know where that went, right? I think I've still got a Blockbuster card, but I haven't used it in 25 years. I think there's one Blockbuster store left in the nation. It used to be where we all went and saw our movies. I think, if you went back and you rewrote that, you'd look at something like let's go in and let's do just like Netflix did. Okay, we've got the physical locations. Let's take that and let's work on a streaming server, because that was the true killer. Netflix as a whole hurt them, but then that streaming really just, we all fell in love with it, right? It is where the world is going.
Exactly.
Right? And you got to miss that. I think other challenges I see is there's a kind of a linear fantasy that it's just going to be straight line. You know, I think in today's world, obviously we know things change overnight. It's absolutely nuts. People will talk about, we're going to launch a product in Q1. By Q2, we'll have $50 million in revenues. We'll expand to EMEA in Q3, et cetera, et cetera. That is a very linear strategy. Right? I believe these days you really need to talk about strategy in case of scenarios, right? You want to do scenario planning around these. You want to think, okay, so here's my strategy, but what happens if I realize that the competing product comes in that space? Do I accelerate faster? Do I go to a different market? Do I change the scope? Really working through that kind of trial and error process in your head helps you define that strategy, so when changes do happen, because they're going to happen. I mean, 2-3 years ago, did anybody think AI was going to be where it is today? Right? Yep. No. And it continues to surprise every day. So I think you have to be very agile in your approach and really think in terms of, here are the scenarios. So, hey, if I had a disruption in my tech stack or in the capabilities that are provided, how do you actually adjust your strategy to fit that, right? So if you start and you go, what do you mean we're not launching in EMEA in Q3? We're not going to make our $50 million in revenue. You go, yeah, but you have to plan for those risk mitigation. As a program manager by trade, that is natural for me, because that is risk management, right? And so I think a lot of folks miss that one. Yeah.
Got it. And you use the term AI. Of course, we are going to go to that hot topic, because
are we going to have to? Are you sure, Varun? I mean, we should just skip it.
There is no room where we go, or a conversation, be it professional life or a personal life, but we'll get there. But another thing that really kind of hits me is, the size of the company of like Cisco, right? How do you decide as a leader, what something deserves attention versus something that deserves a no, straight up no?
Yeah, I think you start out at multiple levels, right? You look at it, what is the overall organizational goal? Right? Are you looking to lower software spend? Well, going and signing a bunch of new software, is that part of the strategy? Not really. Cool. The organization is looking to move away from homegrown applications. Like, okay, should we go build this thing? Just because we can, should we? I think a lot of this is, you also have to look at not just the overall organizations, at every level. Does it align with my boss's strategy and goal and vision? Does it align with my own personal strategy and goal and vision? Because there are a lot of great ideas out there, right? I love the team to bring ideas to me. Never, ever have your team stop innovating, stop looking at new ideas, stop presenting them and bringing them up to you, because that is actually, to me, a sign of failure, right, in an organization. But you have to take those ideas and understand that money and time are finite. People don't sometimes realize that, and they go, well, hey, this is a great opportunity. And I'm like, first thing I start with a lot of folks is like, cool, let's just pretend it's a productivity function that we want to improve. Okay, cool. You're very interested in kind of speeding up this process or doing this differently. Well, we're going to go. You want me to go build this application or this tool or this workflow or re-engineer the process? What are we going to gain? What is the outcome we're trying to derive? What is the value we're going to deliver? And oftentimes I tell people, it's like, if it's not a 3 and 4x return, don't do it, because we are human beings at our core are overly optimistic. So you go in and you're very optimistic. Oh, this is going to great. It's going to change the world. And if it's not 4 or 5x when you plan it out and do the math, you may not want to start it, right? Because there are a lot of 4 and 5x opportunities out there, and you really want to start with those because that's going to deliver the most value. So I think the net there, right, is you really don't want to chase every shiny penny, because it's easy to get distracted with the 10,000 things.
Indeed. And one thing which I can definitely vouch for Jason is the amount of support he gives to his team members, the amount of new ideas that people throw through hackathons and otherwise, I think, and the kind of support they get is really, really appreciative. So thank you for doing that as well for us.
My pleasure. It's about the people, not about me.
I get it. And that's what makes you an amazing leader, because that's what people look up to you, that they know they will be heard, they will be seen, they will be sometimes, yes, awarded as well, but most importantly, their thing is not going into isolation, or they're being, given the due credit. All right, but being part of such a big organization, managing so many people, I'm sure there are many recurring problems that slows down the engineering operations every single day, every single week. If you had to list one or two of those items, which could help a lot of people, what would those be?
I think it's your legacy systems, your tech debt. If you start out, you've got old services, poor documentation, fragile test cases, and then you have the whole section of don't touch that. Nobody knows how it works, right? Like that seems to slow down our ability to leverage things like AI. I know I'm jumping ahead there, Varun. I apologize, but it really does slow you down and kind of makes things more risky and slow. I think I read a book a long time ago. I want to say it was the DevOps handbooks or something, and it was talking about an instance at Google, and they went through when they were trying to re-engineer their test suite. I believe that was the case, and go through and kind of read it, more automated testing, et cetera, and they go, they put people in place and understood you're going to break a few eggs. You want to minimize that blast radius, but if you do not break some eggs, you will not transition fast enough through this stuff. You get caught up in kind of, well, if we do that, we risk that. I'm like, okay, so how do we minimize those risks and move forward? Again, it's more of a scenario planning deal. I think too many dependencies, platform, infrastructure dependencies, security, and all that product touches the same market. It makes it really hard for organizations. I mean, writing the actual feature itself, pretty easy. Okay, how do you get that feature? Make sure it's secure. Is it scalable? Does it talk to the right services? Blah, 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 blah. That's what tends to slow down organizations, in my humble opinion.
That's true, and also I think with the innovation that's happening on an hourly basis, we used to say it's happening like quarterly or maybe once a year or twice a year. Now it's happening like I just came out of the keynote. I'm not sure if you heard the keynote. I mean, every single keynote, every single announcement made, especially at Cisco these days, it amazes me. It blows my mind how fast everything is changing. And yep, I mean, we're all part of some history in the making. But then these leaders who push a lot of things, right? I mean, of course, you also kind of look up to the team members to suggest some of the metrics. But is there one metric that most of these leaders always obsess over, but you feel in your experience it doesn't help, it doesn't tell the full story, but still we are expected to kind of deliver?
Where I think people get too wrapped around the axle is your PR feature throughput, right? Feature velocity is a measure, but it's often kind of drives those wrong behaviors. It's great. We shipped 1,000 features. So what? What value did it create, right? How are those features adopted? Do customers use them? Did it increase revenue? Did it not? Because again, features are features, but it goes back to that kind of strategy and prioritization question. Which ones are you really guaranteed the big bucks, and how are you going to kind of really put those in the market to make and in the customer's hands, and it's actually something they can consume? Because again, with AI, you could write features all day long, and your customers will never be able to consume. The human cannot consume them. The systems cannot consume them today. Now, give it a decade, who knows, man, right? Like it could be a whole game changer. But I think we don't go through and ask our questions like, what is the business case for the future? What value is delivered to the customer? What outcome does it deliver that how is it part of the large strategy? Right. They really focus on the velocity metrics for some reason, and I think that's not the right measure.
Spot on. I think I definitely feel the same. And I also observe with our leadership, again, not to say you or others, but some of the leadership.
Are you blaming me? Is what you're saying? Is that where we're going with this?
Kinda. But some of the things that we sometimes don't understand the logic or the connection is not made. Like, why are we doing this? Sometimes it does, but these days the tools help us a lot. These days, all these, I mean, I have built websites now, which was a distant dream for me. I used to go to WordPress and all that stuff. Now, at a command, I can have a beautiful, very professional website for you, for our products, for anything that we do, and I don't even blink an eye. And things are changing at such a rapid pace, and that takes me to, of course, your favorite topic, or my favorite topic, or everyone's favorite topic, AI. Everyone says we are AI first or AI ready company. I'm sure you've heard that term a lot. You meet so many customers, you meet some of our internal stakeholders and customers as well. But what does being truly AI ready or AI first practically mean?
For me, I think it's I'm not going to pick on the engineering side because I think that's been talked to death. I think it's AI isn't just about faster coding alone. It's fixing the entire system and work stream that goes along with it. It's an enterprise problem. We improve code velocity, great, 100% great, right? Did you fix the downstream bottlenecks? Are you able to test it as fast? Are you able to secure it? Do your go-to-market teams have a plan? Can your customers consume it? There's a lot of questions that, it's not just feature velocity, right? Again, I'm going to pick on that one. It's like, can these people really adopt these things quickly? And I think we've hammered on engineering. Everybody's hammered on engineering. Hey, look, more code, faster, use AI to write it. Spec-driven development, vibe coding, all these really cool things. Because again, I love AI. I am a huge fan of doing it in everyday life. So many things. I automated a PowerPoint for my wife the other night for like 500 awards. It was great. She was she was hour 1 and she's like, oh my gosh, I've only finished 70. I was like, give me 2 minutes. Went over 10 minutes later. I had 500 slides done for these presentations. It was great. But that's a great,
exactly,
very simple use case. Like, this is not work you want to do. I always tell people too, my main thing is find the work you hate, use AI. Start there.
That's a very good suggestion, actually. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's if I really hate doing something, start with the AI on it, right?
Right.
But I think really as you shift the focus from coding to the whole ecosystem, that full integration, you want to have accurate context, downstream systems, agents working together. It can't just be about one piece of the business. The entire business as a whole really has to adopt AI, right? And then I think the fundamental question is how do you govern it? How do you ensure there's a human in the loop? You have security and control over what these AI applications and agents are doing. We've seen instances, it's all over the press, AI deleted the database and the backup and then just apologize. Like, great, we're going to run fast, but again, how do we have it operate across the entire ecosystem? Right. What happens when it gets into your financial systems and changes your books?
Of course,
right?
We need to have those guardrails for sure.
And so I think it's not just about making engineers code faster. It's how you test, build, secure, govern. Those things I think we're not looking at, or I think groups are starting to look at them. I think it's just they should have started with that at the same time they started with the coding. But I think everybody got wrapped around the axle and the coding thing.
I know. And I've heard, not just at Cisco, but, across the board, any company, they want the coding to be like 90% or 85% above has to be done through these tools.
Yeah.
No more developers and, doing actual physical coding. So change is coming for sure. And that kind of, takes me to the question is, people have started getting scared of AI. They feel they're going to lose their jobs. But I'm not going to go to that side. I'm not going to even ask you that question. Yeah. Who's going to lose the job? I would say, which jobs or skills do you believe will become dramatically more valuable over the next 5 years?
I mean, I got to tap into what you just said. Don't worry about AI taking your job. Worry about the person that understands AI taking your job. And it leads into kind of really the two key things, or three things that I think matter. Curiosity. You've got to be curious at all times. These things are all going to change so fast. You got to go out and play with them. You got to get comfortable. You got to start to understand them, right? Don't let fear get in your way. I think a lot of people go, well, I don't want to look dumb. I mean, I'll go back to a personal story, right? Go back, we've really been pushing using these AI coding systems for other functions quite heavily to the organization. I just never really personally took time to go download Cursor or Codex or one of these tools and start to use it. I was like, okay, I'm going to have to take all this time to learn it, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I need to figure it out. So I blocked off a weekend. My family goes out of town. I'm like, I'm going to spend the whole day and I'm going to learn Cursor. Within 10 minutes, I have it installed, set up on my desktop. 15 or 20 minutes later, I automated something that took me 3 to 4 hours a week to do.
Yep.
That kind of outcome. But again, if I wouldn't have, my fear, I should have pushed that back 6 months and I would have been more productive for the last 6 months. I think it's a big deal. Really figuring it out and playing with it. I talked to another peer of mine that earlier today, and she goes, man, Jason, you kept talking to this Codex thing or Cursor as you got into it. And she goes, because she's not a technical person, she's more on the go-to-market side. And she's like, oh my God, I'm using it for everything now. It is amazing how to do these things. It's so easy to produce these things. And I'm like, exactly, right? But again, it's fear and lack of curiosity. I think, if we go to other skill sets, because to me, that is a core fundamental human thing that you have to overcome. And I always like to start with those. I think AI literacy, prompt and tool design. People need to understand how agent frameworks work, which model fits the problem or use case the best. And then I say data fluency, right? Data is still very key in this. How it's built and maintained, types of data, is it regular, is it PI? You kind of need to understand that. I mean, it's, hey, I'm going to go build, you know what, I can quickly build a website, this afternoon. I want to accept payments, great. I want to do all these things. Well, is it storing all the credit card numbers locally in a clear text? I mean, these are things that people need to understand. Like, these are the basic principles for securing data, because they will get excited. They'll go build an application because they can. It is a dopamine hit like no other, right? You go in, you build something, it's functional in 30 or 40 minutes. I'm not a developer. I figured it out. And you go, okay, that's great. But do you understand architecture, data, how that moves, how to store it, how to be secure it? I mean, I'm really worried about that phase with people, and I see these homegrown things that people pop up and they show, and I'm like, my first impression in my mind is like, did they encrypt stuff on the back end? They're taking login credentials. It's scary.
Exactly. No, that's true, and that's what I say, right? I mean, it's become so easy, even for a technically challenged person. Forget, like somebody who has a college degree or in computer science and all. Somebody who's completely technologically challenged can go use this tool. Of course, there are good and bad, both of the sides of the tool. But I have an anecdote or a joke that goes around in our circle as well. These days, some of the stuff that our kids learn in school, they are so complicated. They're like, when we were kids, I don't even imagine I could have cleared that class.
Yeah.
Now, thanks to ChatGPT or some of the tools, if my daughter comes in and shows me some kind of questions, I just have to do a ChatGPT. It will give me not only the answer, it'll give me the whole explanation, and I act very smart in front of my kids. But
it helps me a lot too, Varun.
Exactly. It is helping, no doubt. But I think it's also the guardrails, the security, the encryption piece of it. People should definitely invest more time on that as well. Not just have fun using the tool, but also learn the tool itself.
Yeah, I mean, though one other point is, I actually asked my administrative assistant to download and start using Codex, because I thought this is going to change your job. She is not a technical person, right? Super hard worker, knowledgeable, been doing this a while, and I said, it is going to change your job over the next 3 years, whether you like it or not. Today is the day to start learning it, no matter if it's just basic tasks like, hey, scan Jason's calendar and find 30-minute time slots in the new text 2 weeks. Speeds up her work a little bit. And again, so now she's able to do more, drive more value to the organization. But that was, my chief of staff, again, not a technical person. Yeah, it was great. Now she's well surpassed most people's AI capabilities. She's churning out high quality content. I mean, her content was always amazing, but now it's just it's next level, because she has more time to work on it and really invest the time. Invest.
Now, time investment, right? I mean, then if you have to give the same kind of advice to somebody who's just starting career, right into college or out of college, what would be your advice towards this AI world that we live in?
I think I'm going to repeat myself, but that's okay. I think be curious. Again, I'm going to stick with that. You got to be curious.
Simple.
And again, great, learn AI, but at the same time, understand the business process and the why things were done. That's really critical. And I think too, iterate quickly. Don't get so locked into a single idea. Really challenge yourself to learn, ship, and then ship again, and until you hit that right outcome. Don't do the, hey, we're going to build this monolithic application we're going to work on it for 2 years, and then we're going to demo it. Like, quickly get feedback. That is what the amazing thing. I use AI all the time. I'm like, I've got this bright idea. This is what it could look like. I spend 30 or 40 minutes turning it, and then I hand it over to a group of developers and go, hey, here's a mock-up of what I'm looking for, my version of the Figma, right?
Yep.
Now go build it, right? Now actually understand the capabilities, the business logic, and all these things. But I think really it's that iteration and be curious. Everything else is easy.
Exactly. Now, diving into a little bit of your leadership style, something that I personally am a fan of. I have seen you, I think, for more than 2.5 years, sometimes very closely doing some of the things. Sometimes I look at some of the actions that you take. But these are my observations of any leader, you or anybody else. I'm always inspired by other leaders as well. Jitu, his style, his storytelling, everything. But if you have to tell someone, maybe someone who is a little experienced or someone who's completely inexperienced, uh, anything from your personal life, your professional life, that no book or maybe an MBA degree or anything superficial can teach or guide this person, what would that be?
I'm going to go back to my curious example in a way, and I say that though, but and you've got to be genuinely care about people, right? Genuinely care about their stories, what they're trying to achieve, what are their goals. I mean, I've got a fairly large organization, but I try to make time to talk to everybody every chance I get. Take that feedback because then, as I understand people, I can help them guide their careers. I can help them guide towards outcomes that I'm trying to deliver. I can put them in places where they excel. Varun came to me and he with a heavy interest in AI, and I said, "Well, okay, we have an opportunity. Let's get." I knew Varun had passion around it. He had started writing a book around it at one point. Really kind of dug in, done a lot of conversations, and I go, "Okay, cool. We're spinning up a team to build an AI platform for Cisco." Varun's the guy. By knowing that and knowing the people, because the people are the product.
That's
right. I mean, I don't build products. I supply people, and it's kind of a service organization. I need to invest in them just like I invest in myself, and then it becomes easy after that. Exactly. No human can do all the work or have all the great ideas. You've got to have great people around you to deliver great outcomes.
Very true, and I can definitely vouch on that or double tap on that. Not just me, there have been so many others, some of my peers, some of my colleagues, some of the junior people as well who've reached out. I think one of the great leadership trait that I've seen in Jason as well is approachability. You can approach him any point of time. I'm sure his calendar is always triple, four times booked, but he will make time. He will definitely, like today. It's a working day. We are sitting in a studio right now recording this podcast. He came, he made time for this podcast. I'm, of course, always appreciative of his style of him. So thank you for doing this again.
Oh, no worries. I'm going to have a bunch of work for you. Doing you this favor, I'm going to put a bunch more work on you next week. So,
absolutely. Yeah. Yes, boss.
Trade-off.
All right, exactly. Now going on to a little kind of, side of you, which is, you're a people's person. I always see you not just on the IT side or, managing people or dealing with all the escalations and which I'm sure happens every single day. But at the same time, I'm sure you meet so many different people every single day, every single hour. I'm sure you build some kind of perception about them, or you have already a perceived notion about a product, a service, or an offering that they're trying to build, or they want to do something about it. But has there been a moment when you went into that particular meeting or that conversation with that perceived notion, but you came out and you were like blown away? Wow, why did I not think about that? And they changed your perspective completely.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things, and I think it's it's tough, right? When you have teams and people, you have to make sometimes judgments way too fast, right? And I think as a leader, you're going to make those judgments. That is human nature. I don't care who you are, right? What you have to do is quickly be okay with adjusting that. I laugh when you go back to the situation like this, and I remember a call about a year ago, right? I can't remember who I was talking to be honest. He goes, "Hey, in our lab environments, have you ever thought of robots?" And my first initial idea in my head is like, that's a dumb idea. What is he talking about? I'm never going to come on, dude. And then I stopped for about 30 seconds, as they continued on about it. And I said, wait, this isn't that bad of an idea. And then I thought, oh my gosh, how do I don't know anything about robots. I mean, other than what the movies told me, right? Who would I reach out? And then I realized, wait, I've got a friend that actually runs robotics for the University of Texas. Now we're kicking off a program with them to put robots into our labs and test these things out.
Right, nice.
But again, I didn't have this idea. Somebody had it. They gave it to me. I thought, oh my God, this is a terrible idea in my head. But then I actually stepped back and took my initial reaction, put it in a little box, thought for a second, and went, wait, this actually has a real business outcome it could deliver at scale that would be amazing. And the more and more we dig into it, I do see a future there. But again, if you don't talk to your people, listen to their ideas, get on the phone with them, these things are never possible. Because I would have had that idea, maybe it'd be 5 years too late.
Yep, that's true. And like they say, right? No question is a stupid question. You should be inquisitive. Curiosity is something which definitely I'm going to take away from this conversation as well. I mean, you brought it up a couple of times, and for obvious reasons, and it does make all the sense. Now, let's say we are doing the same podcast now in say 2040, another, of course that's a long time, because the way technology is changing right now, I think even if we talk next year or next month,
Yeah.
it's going to be completely different. But let's say we are talking in 2040, sitting in this room talking about what has happened. What would you need to see that something happened that you would say, oh, you know what, I did this and I did it right? What would that moment be, or what would that moment you liked it to be?
That's a tough question. I'm not sure this is on your script, Ron. No, I'm joking. Totally. No, and also if we're sitting in a room in 2040, I hope we're just having a couple beers and relaxing because we're both retired.
For sure.
But or a cup of coffee, whatever works, man. But
Yeah.
I worry if I'm still kicking around at 2040, I didn't hit my own personal goals. But anyway, I think if you look back. I'm going to focus on some work we did with the Atlassian stack, right? We went through it, and again, people told me this will never work. How can you can't migrate to a single tool. You can't build an environment. You can't get 20,000 engineers on the same page, and go back to, I said, hold my beer. I bet you we can do this, right? Again, it was an outcome nobody thought, but again, the way we approached it is unique, and the reason it worked is when we started, we didn't think of it as a migration. We thought of it as a transformation, right? We knew that you get opportunities with these large business systems to change them out about every decade, right? I mean, it's a lot of work, a heck of a lot of change management. So when you go in, you want to make sure you've really got a platform for the future of the organization. Mm-hmm. And again, I think it was, luckily it's made us more AI ready as an organization, but it would have been a true lesson there, and where we would probably have had to change, but we took a different approach. But by taking that and really stopping thinking like, you're not just changing a tool or process, stepping back and doing a complete look at how you function as an organization and how the tool enables it. That is one thing I think we've done it a few times, but I look back on my career at different points and we've made those type of decisions. And those have been the ones I always go, 100%. That's what we should have done. We went the right direction, and I'm super happy with the work the team did.
All right. Hopefully we do that in 2040. With a beer for sure, yeah. and I'm sure you'll have a lot of things to be proud of. What you've done over the period of time that you're working right now. Now, outside of this, of course we know Jason, the leader, the provider, to our teams, to the organization, the amazing communicator to our leadership team about how and what we are doing and how we are delivering. I've seen your presentation style. I've seen how you like stuff in the presentations as well. I mean, I've kind of seen it all, and I'm really inspired, and that's why I wanted you to be here. But on a personal front, I mean, outside of work, I'm sure AI is not the only passion that you have right now. Yeah. I'm sure there are other passion projects or passion things that you do. What would some of your personal things be that you do in your free time?
It's really my kid. Right, she's got about 4 years graduated. She plays soccer and rugby at a very high level. It's usually taking her somewhere or during the games, just enjoying her. I do a lot of photography at the games. I like sports photography, and so I do that. I used to before I took the job at Cisco. I think I had a little more free time. So I used to build furniture for fun on the weekends. I would, I think I actually ended up selling 40 pieces of furniture in a year, and it's mainly because my wife told me, no more of this farmhouse stuff in the house. Like, no more of your little pet projects, no more tables, no more this and that. And so I think I'll go back to some of that as we move out of technology, because it's things that I think it's synergy, right? And I think a lot of it is about finding something, right? Me watching my kid play centers me. I can sit there and watch it. That's a moment I don't think about work. I don't think about problems, bills,
really?
Taxes. I'm able to really focus on what she's doing and really enjoy it. Or the same thing when you're out working in the garage and, again, I don't want to do it professionally, but, going out and building a table or something beautiful like this and spending the time and maybe having a beer or two while you're doing it. I don't have a problem, people, I promise you. But, really enjoy that. You got to get back to those things to make, because to make the hard work we do worth it, right? Because if you don't give back to yourself in ways like that, it really will burn you out.
That's really very, very good to hear, because I always thought, or I have that image of Jason Andrews as a workaholic. You look at, the way, I mean, you will see email responses or response, even if you're asking for help, he's the first person who will get back to you in like no time. So I'm really impressed that you have a life out of work as well, and you're getting time. That's
Yeah.
more important, because
Yeah.
looking at how things are going right now, it is so fast paced, and
Yeah.
it's really. But one, maybe since we're almost at the end of our podcast, couple of things that I really want to know is, I'm sure, like for me, for others who are listening to this podcast, we look up to, say, you and other leaders. I'm sure you also look up to some leader, or you would have learned something from some of the leaders.
Yeah.
Do you want to name some of those leaders?
I'd love to. There's one that always sticks out. He's when I was working at GameStop, that was during my MBA program. It was a really foundational conversation. It was like a 20, 30-minute conversation, but it kind of changed your thinking on so many things. I sat down with a gentleman named Paul Raines. He was the CEO at the time. GameStop at that point, I believe, had around 40,000 employees, about $10 billion in revenue. Wow. Big time guy. Well, so when grad school, I was like, well, you need to go talk to somebody about leadership styles. I'm like, yeah, I'll go pick the SVP of HR. Those guys love to talk, right? Like about growth and personal things. And he goes, not good enough. Have you asked the CEO? And I'm like, I'm not asking the CEO. Like, come on, he's super busy, etc. So he goes, I'm not letting you off without at least emailing him and show me the email. I was like, come on. So I send him an email.
Okay.
15 minutes later, he responds, Jason, yeah, I'd love to. Let's set up time. And I'm like, really? Okay, right? Like, I walked into his office, a week later, and out walks CNBC. And I'm walking in, and get started, and you're like, all right, Paul, and you're like, started asking just general questions, right? And he laid out a few really key life lessons for me. He goes, you have to find things that motivate you and the team that sometimes, and at this point I was going through a personal struggle around, I want to go do work with a real purpose in life. I want to go save babies. I want to go save the world, right? Maybe I should change my career trajectory. And he was like, no, Jason, really what you have to do is look, like the role I take in the organization is I take something and build something the organization can rally around. At that time he was saying, protect the family a lot. This is, with the work we're doing to ensuring that GameStop is growing and profitable is to protect the family. So Varun could pay for his kid's school, Jason could pay for his woodworking or his daughter's college. Somebody can pay for a vacation. And a lot of what you're doing is, yeah, sure, I'm a capitalist at heart. I can't help it, right? We're in a big software company. We make money. It's no hidden agenda there, right? But the purpose of work is actually to support yourself and those around you to achieve their life goals can be your passion also. He set me down with that one, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. Like you're sitting here going, oh wow, like that really changed my perspective on so many things. But he was a phenomenal leader. Like he's one of those guys, anytime you talk, you should go back and read the white papers on him, the podcast. Unfortunately, he passed away, I want to say about 7 to 10 years ago, right? But just some of his very simple, grounded, pragmatic lessons were just amazing. Every time he went out and spoke, he was one that really caught me. Obviously, Kristen, who I've worked with for a decade, Kristen Nichols, she was also phenomenal, and she more taught me hard work, right? The whole email response thing and being on top of things and being passionate about what you're doing. She really leaned in hard there, and it kind of inspired me.
Very nice, and very inspirational. I'm definitely gonna search him up and read something about him as well. Now, before I get into the last question, I wanted to do a little bit of a fun stuff. I'll call it the lightning round.
Okay.
I'm not gonna give you any chance. Just 2 seconds, whatever comes to your mind. Okay. Let's see who the real person we are talking to is. All right, very simple. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
One book every leader should read?
Measure What Matters.
Okay. Best career advice you've ever received?
Oh man, come on, that's not a fair one. That's not a lightning round question.
No, I'm sure that should be right on top of your mind. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right, go for it. Take your time.
I think best career advice I ever seen is I think guy like Paul, telling me, he's be humble, right? Always keep your mind open, be willing to open to change, listen to your people. Those are, I think, pretty foundational lessons. That's not a lightning round question, Varun. That's a very deep one.
I'm sure. And another deeper on the same lines, the worst career advice you've got? without naming anyone?
Well, no, I think if you talk about worst career advice, I think it would relate back to, how working for leaders that just don't value the people, right? The people are a tax, right? And oh yeah, you should fire this person, you should do that. And not really with a why or an understanding or, hey, did we put the person in the wrong role? I think that's generally what it is. It's like, well, do we have the top talent? Well, sometimes we put people that are very talented in the wrong role, and then they flounder, right? But if you put them in the right role, they succeed. So really taking a pause and a minute to look at the person, look at what they do, and then see if you realign them, do you get a better outcome versus kind of just saying, oh, well, this didn't work. Well, it didn't work because we square peg round hole, right?
Very, very nicely said. All right. I hope I don't know the answer, but let's see. One technology that's overhyped. Don't say AI.
Yeah. Ooh. Not a. Yeah. Oh, man. One technology's overhyped. That's a tough one, right?
Or maybe one that's not overhyped or underhyped, I would say.
I mean, they're all overhyped a bit, right? And so that's where I struggle is like everything has a little too much. We're amazing marketers, right? Of what the work we do. Man, I can't think of one off the top of my head that's over or underhyped.
But I like what you said. Pretty much every technology is a little overhyped these days.
Yeah.
It feels like we are in some kind of a bubble, and we don't know when that's going to burst.
Drive down the Bay Area, the freeway, right, from San Francisco to San Jose, and you'll see all the hype. Oh, we can transfer your business, we can do this, we can do that. It's a click of a button. But the proof is in the pudding when you get these things in is like, how easy is the application to install and configure? Do you have to change your entire business rules? I mean, in some cases, I will say one thing, it's a bit overhyped in my opinion that does relate to AI is it's going to replace all the SaaS applications. You won't need any of them. You'll just do workflows and things like that. I feel like that's a bit of a stretch. I think it's an aggressive move, and it could work. Again, I'm not the AI has surprised me every day, but I think it's one that the whole SaaS apocalypse. I think that was a little overblown.
That's correct, and I also sometimes like to refer it to like a clickbait. I mean, people are using AI and some of these to hype, and then when you see the reality, when you actually put them into practice, that's when you realize that it was all hype.
Gotcha.
All right, one person you'd love to have dinner with, could be living or dead.
Oh, one person I'd love to have dinner with, living or dead. Man, I'm trying to think of somebody funny. Actually, it would be like a comedian, Robin Williams.
Oh wow!
I mean, go back. Like, that guy was funny, full of life. Obviously, he had some internal struggles, but I can imagine that would just be a hoot, right? I mean, you can go say all these great business leaders or all these guys. I want to have fun at dinner. I think a guy like that at dinner would just blow your mind.
Exactly. And just not the funny side of it. I mean, the other side of Williams, when we got to know him, that also amazes me. So great choice. Yeah. All right. One last question before the last question. What's one thing that very few people know about you, which nobody else knows? Something you want to share today?
Jeez, Varun's trying to get my secrets out on
yes.
a call. Maybe that's not, but my wife would get mad at me for that example. I think, people often seem to think I come from a storied background. He must have went to the best undergraduate and the best grad school. No, that's not me. I come from a very simple upbringing. My parents were 18 and 20 when they had me, right? My dad was a roughneck in the oil fields. My mom was working an administrative job. And so I didn't come from money. I didn't come from higher education. I just came from me, right? From life experiences and listen to others. So I think it's something, it's funny. I've heard several people like, where'd you go to school? Did you go to Harvard or Yale or MIT? And I'm like, I went to UTA. It was great education. Where'd you get your undergraduate? To A&M Corpus Christi. Like, why? I wanted an apartment on the beach, right? I mean, these are things that I think people don't realize. They think, everybody went to this big university, or they come from money or wealth or the best private schools. It's the person that makes the person.
Wow, very nice said. It's the person that makes a person.
I just came up with that. I'm going to trademark it real quick. Hold on.
Absolutely, you should. All right, my last question, and this is just to kind of summarize everything that we've talked about today on this podcast. So when your career is eventually summarized in a few sentences, what do you hope people say you stood for? Not just as a leader, but someone as a human being as well.
Principles, right? Principles of, doing what's right, whether it be for the people, the process, the technology, the organization. Not somebody that was kind of self-serving, right? I was here to, I'm going to go prove that I can cut a bunch of people and fire them just to lower the numbers, even though it's not the right thing for the business. It's harmful. It's an easy win. I want people to look back and go, Jason did it the right way, right? He guided people. He helped them grow their careers. He made the right decisions for the company. Everybody won in that scenario, and he stood by his principles. Right, I frequently see people kind of bend on their principles, and as soon as you start doing that, it's a recipe for disaster, right?
Yeah, no, I can again vouch on that as well. I mean, you're a man of principle for sure. We've seen you grow as well along with us, but at the same time, we've seen how honest, transparent, and candid you are. Sometimes there are tough decisions. I'm sure you have to make. But at the same time, you don't put any filter, which kind of makes you very special for all of us.
If you're not honest with people, right, they won't be honest with you, right? I ask people to work really hard, right? I ask them to deliver great outcomes. To do that, they have to trust me and understand what I'm thinking. The better they understand what I'm thinking, the better they are able to achieve whatever goal or run faster, right? So I'm always like, you know what, I'm going to tell them everything. As much as I can, right? I'm not going to get fired on some of these, but be very honest with the team, because they can honestly see organizations can sniff through a lot really quick.
That's true. All right, so that was Jason Andrews, VP of Strategy and Planning at Cisco. Someone who we all admire. I'm sure people who are going to listen in, they're going to vouch for him as well. I would love to be here again. Not 2040, not 2030, maybe in the next year or anytime soon, where we talk about more on technology, more on AI, and how it has transformed or it's continuously transforming us. So thank you once again, Jason, for your time, for your insights, and I'm sure someone down there who's going to listen in or maybe watch it, going to get inspired. So appreciate that.
Varun, thank you for the opportunity, and anytime.
Thank you again.